What a buckin' win against those mother buckers down in Tampa. Go Pack Go! Welcome to a quick hits Lombardi time Brews. Just want to give some quick post-game thoughts from the Packers versus Buccaneers game in week 3 of the 2022 NFL season. Packers headed on down to Tampa and actually took this thing. A divisive 14-12 win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. First, I'm going to dive in with just a quick couple little game notes, spread around my thoughts on the offense, defense, special teams, then hand out some game balls. I'll be back tomorrow with a full-length episode that details a lot more details, I guess you could say, about all of the facets of this game. But diving in quick, before we do that, please share, subscribe to this video or audio podcast. Also follow me on Twitter at John Delray, JONDELRAY, to continue on with further conversation. I tweeted a whole bunch during this game, talked to a few different people. Come join in on the fun, come join the conversation, and let's keep on building a Packer community together. So diving into the game, first of all, injuries. As I've been saying every week, every game that you can leave without a major injury is a small win in and of itself, but today the Packers were not so lucky. Jaire Alexander, on one of the very first plays of the game, comes up holding his groin. We know it was a groin injury. We know he was marked as questionable about coming back into the game or not. Honestly, that's a good sign. If it were something very severe, we know the Packers would have marked him out right away, but they did mark him questionable. Of course, it eventually became clear he wasn't coming back. You just got to hope that this is not a severe injury. Keyshawn Nixon did a great job filling in for him, but, Keyshawn Nixon is not Jaire Alexander. So you got to hope that this is going to be a quick recovery, that it's nothing too serious, that it was just a pull or strain, something that can heal up rather quick. Maybe the heat played a factor. We saw that with a number of different Packers. Josh Myers cramping up late in the game. Al Lazard, if you caught that little clip on TV, was obviously affected by the heat in a very gross way. He had to get some things out. So ultimately, you hope that this isn't too much of an injury for Jaire Alexander. Now, for David Bakhtiari, here's the good news. Bakhtiari swapped every other series with Yash, and Bach made it through the whole game. Played really well. So, for those of you who said that Bakhtiari's career was over, maybe you should root for your team and trust your team a little. Just a thought. But David Bakhtiari got through the entire game, played very well, played very impressively for his first game with more than 20 snaps in 2 years. Really, really good stuff out of David Bakhtiari. Now, for the offense. Thank goodness for that quick start. The Packers wound up needing it. In this first half, it looked like this was going to be a runaway game. But Tampa Bay has one of the best defenses in the NFL, and they adapted, as we would expect a Todd Bowles-led team to do. It's a very talented defense. They adapted, and Green Bay began to run out of answers. I think the frustrating thing for Green Bay, as they were going 0 for 8 on third downs for a stretch there in the second half, there were still things open. And that's been a common refrain for a few weeks now. The missed chances in the passing attack. Even if it's being productive, there's more they could have. And it continued to be left. Something that we need to look for in the coming weeks. Something that, honestly, Rodgers needs to continue to clean up. I would be remiss, though, if I did say that Christian Watson, this is where he can come into play. Look, Sammy Watkins is out for a minimum of 3 more games. We know it's probably going to be longer than that because he won't even be able to practice until his IR stint is done. which means Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson have ascended to more and more snaps in this offense. And I think as Tampa Bay adapted, as Green Bay got stuck in this rut, that's where Christian Watson can help break the mold for the offense. He has physical tools that no other receiver or playmaker on this team has. So you can scheme up something specific for him when the offense enters into these lulls. Had he been there today, I don't think the lull would have been as long as it proved to be. But still, nonetheless, Tampa has a good defense and acted like it for a large stretch in the middle of the game. But that offense in the beginning was downright electric. Looked very, very 2020-esque. Lots of moving parts, lots of quick routes, Rodgers playing in rhythm. That is what we want to see game in, game out for the rest of time. Going on from that, Romeo Doubs, talked about him a little bit. Absolute coming out party for him. 8 catches, 73 yards, and a touchdown, showing that he can be more than just a wide receiver screen guy like we saw last week. He has all of the traits. You saw him get aggressive at the goal line to force his way in for that touchdown. Wherefore art thou, Romeo, with a beautiful play to shove that ball over the goal line and get his first career touchdown. Flipping it over to the defensive side of the ball, I tweeted pretty close to the end of the game that this is a new day for the Packers defense. We've seen this play out in years past where the offense stalls and then all of a sudden the other team can just kind of get caught up and the defense would let them get caught up. But not anymore. Today, the defense, they suffered at the hands of Tom Brady, just paper cutting them to death. Something that we have seen time and time again. Veteran quarterbacks who are good on short rhythmic passes can beat the Packers defense. That's the key, though, to beating pretty much any NFL defense. So I'm not going to fault the Packers too much. But nonetheless, you saw them march down the field when it mattered most, and they were able to get that touchdown. But then Devondre Campbell pulling out the Michael Jordan hops and batting away that 2-point conversion to make sure, with 14 seconds left, that the Packers secured a huge road victory. Devondre Campbell showed up in this game, being more active, flying around a lot quicker than we had seen in the previous 2 weeks. Keyshawn Nixon, filling in for Jair, played incredibly well and was asked to do a lot. The Packers, it seemed at least first glance watching on the telecast, were playing more man coverage and press man specifically than we had seen in the first 2 weeks, which is great. It's what we wanted. That's what we want out of these ultra-skilled corners and these aggressive secondary playmakers. With linebackers with speed, you want them playing more man. Get aggressive at the front line. And I talked about it in the preview video. Get aggressive at the line of scrimmage. Press these receivers and make these depth receivers beat you. Which they weren't able to do today. It worked. It worked. There were many times in this game that I was frustrated as all sweet goodness because the Packers are playing 10 yards off and allowing the Buccaneers to just run for 8 free yards every single time. Now, the Packers didn't do that today, and it worked. Their run defense was incredibly stout. Rashawn Gary shut down Leonard Fournette, and sometimes one of the flaws in Gary's game that's still present is just doesn't set the edge super well. He gets too committed to the pass rush, and then sometimes run backs can bend around him. Not today. Leonard Fournette was shut down. Devondre Campbell, Kenny Clark, Rashawn Gary were the big players there that made sure he was going nowhere and they were not going to get beat by the run. Very, very good job by the defense. Special teams, quick thoughts here. Amari Rodgers did fine returning the ball when he had chances to return them, minus that one return that he had a fair catch when there was no one on his continent. He called a fair catch and there was no one around. Bisaccia is going to light him up for that on the plane home, I'm quite sure. But on the flip side, the good side, Pat O'Donnell, the punter, this dude's punting really well. You love to see that. Even one time today, he did outkick his coverage, but the Packers have gunners now that doesn't matter as much. Rudy Ford, Dallin Levitt, these guys are revelations at gunner. We haven't seen anything like this in Green Bay for years. Dallin Levitt specifically looks like a man on a mission. just constantly fighting with his blockers, trying to get through. Rudy Ford just looks unblockable as a gunner. And then most of the time finishes well with the tackle on the return. The Green Bay special teams, this should not be understated, played a big part in the Packers' victory today. That punt team consistently stuck Tampa Bay far back in their own territory. That is not to be taken for granted, even if we're not used to it. Really, really good to see. Great to see. Game balls for this one. Game ball definitely goes to David Bakhtiari. Welcome back, D-Bach. It is good to have you again. He played great. Not only did he make it through the game, he played great. Randall Cobb gutting it out even though he was sick the majority of the game. Came up with some really good plays. I'm thinking of the one early on in the game where he caught it and immediately turned. That was a great move for an old man. So good to see him, even as he's recovering from illness, making the play. Romeo Doubs, this coming out party of his, he gets a game ball as well. On the defensive side of the ball, game balls go to three guys I already talked about. Rashawn Gary for shutting down the run today and getting a sack. Keyshawn Nixon for filling in for Jair Alexander very admirably. And Devondre Campbell for playing like the all-pro we know he can be after last year. One hell of a win for the Green Bay Packers in Tampa Bay in 90-something degree heat and just gross. Did you see Mason Crosby's jersey at one time? It was just wet. It's gross. Florida's gross. So, Green Bay, one hell of a win. March it down there. 14-12 win in week 3. Great job. Great day to be a Packer fan. Join us tomorrow on Lombardi Time Brews. Of course, after you liked, shared, subscribed, and all of that stuff to this video, join us tomorrow for our full-length video as I dive into all these topics more, offer more details. We'll have had a chance to rewatch the game. I'll give more full thoughts. Thanks for joining us tonight. And as always, have yourself a great day and go Pack.